and welcome to Ping Pong Critics review of Interstellar. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Nick.
Now this is our spoiler-free review, so please follow the annotation or link below to our spoiler review if you have already seen the film. Yeah? Now, I'm just going to preface this once again by saying that this is my most anticipated film of 2014, much like many others. I know I kind of had to go through some convincing to get you to watch it with me. You want to comment on that? Why that was the case, Nick?
I didn't expect a whole lot from the film because I haven't seen.
Nick!
Okay, I didn't expect a whole lot from the film before we had a Nolan marathon.
That's right.
Before
yes.
the movie.
We just to clarify, we did watch like 4 Nolan movies back to back before we went to watch Interstellar, and it really is interesting doing something like that.
So I hadn't seen much of Nolan's work, just Inception and Batman Begins.
And The Dark Knight.
Yeah. So, but after watching Memento and Prestige, I was excited, and the film did not disappoint.
The film being Interstellar.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is such an epic film. While watching it, I was just thinking that, you know what? I cannot think of another director who can approach this film and handle it to such a scope. It's insane. You're watching this movie and you're just like, how did this go through production? It's crazy. It really is.
And I guess there was one major feeling that was going out when I was outside of the movie. It was Nolan does what he wants.
If he really does.
It's 3 hours long and it's full of just crap in the best way possible.
Yeah.
Not crap isn't bad, but just weird stuff.
Ambitious stuff, really.
Yeah.
It's just like, I have the story to tell, I have all these amazing elements, and he is capable of implementing these elements for better or for worse, because it did feel like 3 years we were in the movie, and I'm pretty sure my bladder expanded into another dimension. Yeah.
So the premise of the film is that...
hey, careful with the premise. Once again, we're going to tell you right now that we definitely recommend you go see the film and form your own opinions. You can keep on watching this review, and it is spoiler-free, but the less you know about the film, the better your viewing experience.
And on that topic, the film really does do a great job of giving you all the context you need. Sometimes, annoyingly so, like they explain the concepts of relativity like 4 times.
Well, they have to now.
Yeah.
I mean, the concept for us is fairly easy to grasp, but I can see how that's just the most convoluted and odd thing to the average moviegoer.
But other stuff that we hadn't seen before, like what's happening on Earth, that stuff was very well explained. You never felt like you were being talked down to, and all the exposition just was incredibly clean.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that.
Surprise face.
I would agree that some of the exposition was done very clean and very well. Some other felt a little forced, and I can understand why it would be forced. I mean, this is set in a not too far off future with all these events having taken place already, and it can be very confusing. And I can see that Nolan was trying really hard to get the audience on track with what was happening. And sometimes there are just so many things that happens that you don't quite completely understand. Sometimes in the film, you just have to pretend you understood what happened and move on with the story.
Happened.
I'm sorry, Nick, that you're so intelligent. Okay. All right. So I say that we will just go through our categories and give our thoughts.
Let's go.
Plot and storyline.
It goes far.
Yeah, it really does, and we mean really far, like 2001 territory far. However, once again, going back to what I said earlier, the less you know about the plot, the better. All I'm gonna say is it's set in the not too distant future.
In the not too distant future.
I appreciate that, Nick. All right, moving on to writing and acting, Nick. What did you think about him?
McConaughey brings it.
Yeah, he really does, and he has a real presence. You know, he's there, and you feel that he's there. It feels like
what a surprise! He's on screen and it's like, well, in a worse film, I wasn't be sure if he's there, but in this film, he's there.
No, what I mean is he is his character more than anything else, right?
It's why we always refer to him by his character's name and not his actor's name.
It's at the point where he's famous enough. It's kind of difficult to do that. You know, I've seen a film that Nolan saw when he decided to cast McConaughey, and that the film is Mud. Once again, alright, I recommend going to see that film, Mud. It's a very different film, but it definitely showcased McConaughey's ability to act. He doesn't have a very great range as an actor, but of what he can do just superbly well. And there are moments in this film where I was just tearing up and crying because he just sells it, man.
I think that because this is very sci-fi film, you have crazy concepts running around here.
Mm-hmm.
So if we hadn't had this link to Earth with McConaughey and his daughter, then the whole movie would have fell apart. But
yeah, but you have something to connect to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the audience have someone to root for, you know, in one way or another, and that it really carries the film among all its fantasy sci-fi elements. Excuse me. How about the writing in terms of dialogue and pacing and such?
It's great.
It is great. There's a moment in the film, and it's not really a spoiler. It's in one of the public released clips, and that's in the beginning of the film. He goes to his daughter's school, and there was a conversation with the teacher about the moon landing being faked, and his expression on his face, it's just, and that conversation is also exposition brought through that. He talked about his wife, and once again, not going into any details, but it's Nolan and the writers. I think his brother was on the writing team, Jonathan Nolan.
He says it again.
Jonathan Nolan. They can really strike a really just happy balance between sci-fi elements and human stories, and you see that in his past films.
And just that part. Okay, so it's that part. It's kind of forcing down a theme. It's forcing it down your throat. But on the other hand, it's just so much fun to watch him get mad.
It really is. And it's lovely. I mean, honestly, it's just...
And you really end up just hating this woman.
Yeah.
You're just like, you just said that?
It's like an inside joke with the audience, which is the best part, right?
Yeah.
Alright, this is a massive aspect of the film. Cinematography, sets, environments, and the overall atmosphere, meaning music too. It's
freaking incredible. Though there are a lot of
would you say it's out of this world?
There are a lot of steady shots where the camera is hooked onto a piece of the ship or something, and those always give you a great sense of this exploration and where they are. Then there are the special effects. It's
mind-blowing, and I just want to quickly go back to how it was filmed. It's amazing because there are scenes where he's in a spaceship with his fellow astronauts, and they're talking, and there's music, whatever, and then it cuts to outside the spaceship, and it's completely silent, and you just see the spaceship floating about in space, and it really just gives you this sense of scale. You see it against the backdrop of Jupiter, and you're just like, man, what a moment. Every moment in this film is a moment. It's you don't define a term with its own term, but you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It has this impact. It has this weight to it, every shot.
Yeah, and tiny, not really there. There's a black hole in the film.
Yeah, well, what a spoiler. It's in the trailer.
What a spoiler. And they brought in scientists to do the gravitational lensing models to see what it would actually look like to a viewer, and it looks incredible.
Absolutely,
it's that duality of beautiful and just black.
Yeah, it's not a racist comment. One of the executive producers of the film, I don't have his name here. I think it's Kip something. He is actually a physicist, and he actually published two research papers off of his work with the film. So it's fun to see that the filming world or the Hollywood world contributing to the to other parts of society. Yeah.
And I'm sure you've seen this in trailers because it's shown all the time, the massive wave that crashes down on them.
Yeah.
You never doubt for a moment that it's right there.
Yeah. It's something else entirely. And regardless of how realistic different aspects of the film are, it feels as if you're there, and that's the biggest success in terms of filming these. And just in terms of environments, these planets that they visit, without going into too much detail, are just spectacular.
And one of the things that you find in sci-fi movies is that they always try and focus on the future civilizations, but here it's really focusing on these alien worlds.
Yeah, it really is.
And it's really great.
Yeah. The focus is on the space exploration and the dynamic between McConaughey and his daughter's relationship, but not so much the Earth elements.
Yeah. And just saying, because we just spent a while absolutely crying over the cinematography and the special effects, because they are great, but I want to reiterate, what pulls this movie together is the relationship between McConaughey and his daughter.
Yeah. And there are a lot of scenes where you see them communicate on the spaceship. Well, communicate is sort of an odd word to use here. It's more like she recorded a message, transmitted it to him, and he's seeing it and responding to it. And obviously there's no live interaction between the two actors here, so it really lands on the actor to sell the emotional impact the other party has on them. And it's just, what a moment. There is a specific moment where something big happens, and then McConaughey has a confrontation with his daughter, although not face to face, through recorded messages, and it's just it was a moment. I don't want to say, I sound really vague right now, and it's difficult because everything you say sort of gives a little bit away of the film, and you don't want preconceived knowledge of plot before you see this. How about a music? One of our friends who we watched film with complained that the organs, which this film is heavily, it's the theme music that reoccurs throughout the movie, really bothered him. It didn't bother me at all. In fact, I thought it was superb.
The only time I really noticed the music, because I tend not to notice music, I don't know why, is when it went away, and whenever they choose to cut the music, which happened a couple times, it's incredible.
It's very effective, yeah.
Everything else is cut away, and you just feel what oftentimes ends up being devastation.
Absolutely. I keep on saying this, but what a film. Really, it's so ambitious.
And the worst part is, in this spoiler-free review, we can't talk about what put the film heads and shoulders above, because you don't see it coming, and it's great.
Yeah. So, hey, listen, go watch the film and come back for our spoiler review. Until then, stick with us, because theme, tone, and pacing. Now, I actually had a problem with the pacing. Granted, it's 3 hours, and most directors don't know what to do, or just keep on squeezing things into the 3 hours. Michael Bay. That are completely just irrelevant and doesn't have really an impact except make you sick. This movie does feel like it's about 32 years long. However...
Yeah. And especially as you near the end, it's around the 2.5 hour mark.
Yeah.
And you're just going like, all right, we're almost done with this movie, and this looks like we're at about the climax. Sounds good. Oh, what the hell is this?
For a couple of moments, you feel like the movie's ending, but it doesn't. To me, that kind of detracted from the film.
But what it does after that kind of climax really is amazing.
I guess so. Theme-wise and tonally, it was more or less consistent. There was this on and off mention of how love transcends dimensions and is the central driving force of the movie.
It's terrible.
Nick is doing some hardcore facepalm right now. But hey, listen, filmmakers out there, just don't do it. You can't.
Never have your characters go into philosophy unless they're like old guys.
Yeah, because it's possible to do it well, but I've never been a fan of it, and I haven't seen films do it well. So it's a tricky line between what is he trying to get at here, you know? Yeah. It's hard to talk about without spoiling anything, but I think you understand what I'm trying to convey here.
And the worst part is, I think it might have been Nolan's intention to make that the theme of the film, and I'm just going like, Nolan, stop. I want to focus on all the cool shit. Nolan, stop.
I don't think it would have made a difference if it wasn't in the film.
Yeah, I think it would have been better.
Yeah, it would have been cleaner and more focused. Now, when we say love, we don't mean the relationship between McConaughey and his daughter, because that is love, yes, but when we say the element of love, we mean it in a more vague and not so literal sense, as in it's some kind of special force that bonds people together across space and time.
Just
It's just biological.
throw popcorn at the screen when that happens.
All right, any general thoughts or just something you want to mention about the movie? Lovely. I love it.
It's sci-fi.
It's so... Yeah, listen, when you watch this film, keep an open mind. Because while I was watching it, I was just on the edge of my seat. Partially because I really needed to pee. And partially because I had no idea what was going to happen next. Like, there hasn't been a film that did something like this. Films like 2001 did something different, but not exactly like this. And that's really interesting. You just don't know what's going to happen. And just keep an open mind, because if you don't, it can really bother you. It's not so much a film you should think too much into the scientific minutiae of the film, because it starts to come apart. So, hey, enjoy it as what it is. Okay, let's wrap this up.
I'm probably gonna give it.
Wait. Is the Nick approved?
Yes, it's Nick.
It's Nick approved. All right. Anyways, back to the rating.
I'm gonna give it a 9 because I love what it did. I like the acting, the characters, cinematography. It's all great. The film does bog itself down with some bullshit, but
Yeah.
it's still gonna make you think about it for hours after you leave the theater. And I wouldn't say I want to watch it again because it's long.
Oh, really? Well, all right.
I probably want to watch it again once, but Jesus, so long.
It's not the kind of movie you can just have on while doing something. You have to give it full dedication. It's a back and forth.
And when I say it's long, I'm not saying that it was ever boring, because I don't think.
Oh
it
no,
was.
absolutely not. Yeah.
But it's a lot of time to take away from your day.
Yeah, it's an event. Let's call it that. It really is an event. All right. So I definitely really enjoyed the film. There are problems with the film that bothered me quite a bit, and I'm sure just listening to this review, I haven't really expanded on them because they are very spoilery. So, once again, go watch the film and come back for our spoiler review. In terms of score, I'm gonna give it a 9.5 out of 10. I think I enjoyed it more than you did, to an extent. However, once again, there are problems with the film that I didn't really discuss that you should look forward to in our spoiler review. Alright. Go out and watch the film, come up with your own opinions, and thank you for joining us, and take it easy.
Yeah, go over to our spoiler review after you watch the film, because it's gonna be better than this, probably.
I hope so. We literally spent the entire review talking about how we can't talk about anything. Yeah.
It's impressive, though. I think this is going to go in one of the film Hall of Fames of all time.
I agree. It's
just because of how different it is.
It really is. It's something people will reference.
Yeah.
Definitely. Thank you.
Bye.